Ladies and gentlemen, something ought to be bothering you. Not that I want to add any stress to your day, but the government is complicating, obfuscating, making obscure the path for managing your wealth as you get older. There's a lack of clarity as to what to do with your estate, with your property, with your inheritance. And some of you have wills that were drawn up by lawyers and not really by advocates for your financial future or people of faith. And so I've had people come to me saying, well, who do you recommend? I've got an expert. I've hooked into this show today to talk about how to manage your estate, how to manage your wealth, how to manage your legacy so that there are innovative, powerful tax advantages right now to managing your wealth and preparing your future, your estate and your future, so that you can start right now to begin to do things with properties and with assets you've got that can get tied into the kingdom of God, activating faith, activating the anointing, and knowing that right now you're getting the benefit of seeing your wealth go to work to advance the kingdom in ways the government can't touch. And that's why I've got this expert. Don Brown's going to be on today. You don't want to miss what he's got to say. Go to lancewallnau.com/legacy because I'm going to record an in-depth conversation on estate planning with him for all of you, because this is a man who is going to absolutely open your eyes and rock your world with what you can do now with your estate, reduce taxes, protect yourself, utilizing the legal structure of trusts, and what to do now to prepare for the future. You'll have peace of mind, and you'll put your money to work so that the devil will never get a hold of it. Comment Legacy in Facebook and Instagram. Go to lancewallnau.com/legacy and register for a private meeting with my guest, Don Brown. Welcome, welcome. This is going to be a very unusual show today. I don't normally do this, but I'll tell you the truth. Mercedes challenges me because I read, my dad was a lawyer, and and as anyone from his era, he managed oil companies, he acquired businesses, and he never understood why I left all that in order to go preach the gospel. Thought I lost my mind. But I did eventually get to lead him to Jesus. And he was right, because he used to bother me. He used to say, are you at all conversant on anything other than the Bible? I said, well, that's the most important thing, Dad. And he goes, maybe so, but you know what's going on in the world around you. And I used to always think it was like world versus spirit. And I grew up with that dichotomy. As I got older, I realized politics isn't a worldly subject. It's a domain that Christians need to be aware of, because government is going to affect the church. Hey, man, education is going to affect your kids. You find that out yet? Hey, entertainment and TikTok's going to affect your whole environment. Suddenly I realized the Seven Mountain Revelation was God wants us biblically literate going into all of the world. And that activates lawyers and economics and documentary filmmakers. And I've been able to activate so many callings in my life by accident, because when I started preaching Seven Mountains, people felt like they could do something spiritual outside of what they were. I have Mercedes Sparks with me, the business partner and chief advisor on a lot of economic and business things. She's got a gift for making money. The other person I have with me, another guy with a gift for wealth management, Dave Yarnes. And so Dave is now working with me on the nonprofit side. Mercedes is handing off our nonprofit work, which was a stretch for her to do what she loves to do, which is enterprise. Now, Mercedes, we helped to activate your calling, didn't we?
Yeah.
In terms of that?
100%. And my last place of employment, I got to build a software company, and here I've learned so much about just not only partnership through LWM, but also this whole media production that we do with Chelsea and the team in the back. I mean, wild, the type of stuff we get to learn. And then obviously you allow me to sit on the show with you as your sidekick.
And I'm telling you something, I don't call it prophetic, but I think it is. It's like I thought Rush Limbaugh always had this kind of unique prescient capacity to predict what was going to happen, because he understood how liberalism works, how liberals work, how the media works. And he would kind of he sounded like a prophet, but I just think when you know something, you have more foresight and insight into what's coming in the future. So I share with you guys the benefit of that. That's what makes this show unique. You ever wonder, like, we're on this subject, we're on that subject? No, because I'm looking for... Like when I start talking about sheep and goat nations, you watch how all of a sudden that's going to start popping up, just like Seven Mountains, just like Donald Trump, just like Cyrus Trump, just like Dominionism, because right now in the world. You got presidents like, the president in El Salvador, Bukele, who is
incredible.
He put his whole by the way, he put his whole economy on Bitcoin. He made a major double down on the fact that he doesn't think Bitcoin's going away. He thinks they have no other assets to work with. So, but then I'm looking at for this week, in Argentina, that is the first time in like 20 years they don't have inflation on food, and they've cut down their government debt. They got a Trumpian wild man in the presidency. These are the sovereign nations the Bible calls sheep nations. They're rising up. Now, what does that have to do with you? I get people calling me and asking for advice on where should I invest, Lance. I know the economy's in a mess, and I'm not what you call a financial planner, obviously, but I know in my field, I know who the smart people are, and I know who to go to. I go to Cousin Billy on stuff, and I got a guy for you today. It was particularly gifted in the area of this conversation, which is how to protect your wealth, how to protect your assets, how to protect your legacy, how to guard. You've spent your whole life accumulating certain resources, and what can you do to protect what you've got? Because what I found out is the government makes it hard for you to prepare for your future because they get a big chunk of your wealth if you don't know what you're doing. Is that true, Dave?
It is absolutely true. I want to back up the one thing. I was with you in Guatemala when you were prophesying in the president's office.
I prophesied to the president. Yes, these things we do in secret.
Yeah.
So that we can be rewarded
And the
openly.
only reason I have to say that is because they removed our cameras at the end. Remember that? We couldn't get any pictures. They promised us pictures, but I was there. I remember that. You did a great job.
I can't tell half the things I do, and half the things I do I shouldn't talk about.
This is an exciting show. You and I have been friends with Don Brown. I've got a lot of longer history with him, but what an incredible guy. I tell 1/3 less lawyer jokes just after meeting Don Brown.
Yeah. Well, he was a JAG lawyer, right? So that's like the military type lawyer.
It really is. And he worked with the government. He's seen it all. He's very prolific. He's on just a lot of national initiatives.
He won't tell us this, but what's his expertise?
His expertise, I think, is really working with individuals to help clarify some things. He's one of those guys that, listen, if you work with me, if you don't work with me, that's not my issue. I need you to be informed and make informed decisions. So I'm so glad we got him. And you're right, though. If you don't plan, you're going to fail in this initiative because estate planning is so important. You've got to get ahead of this stuff. And the government legalese makes it extremely complicated. And it takes expertise, doesn't it, to make something simple and easy and definable.
And I tell you the truth, I didn't really even think about it until I was talking to my Amish buddies who have this ministry, which is Blessings of Hope. They're the Lapp Brothers. And they've been with us in so many dream trips, and I love these guys. I helped get them filled with the Holy Ghost, a bunch of Amish rebels. And now they have this $100 million food distribution center. And you know what helped them get it started? A grandma who left in her legacy giving her estate because she had no living heir who was a Christian. And she did not want the majority of her wealth going into the unsaved hands of grandkids. She wanted to live on. And so Blessings of Hope called me up and said it was like $500,000, but it enabled them to get the warehouse. And now they're like $100 million ministry. And it happened because, and I said, well, how does that work? And right away, I remember Dan Brown, because he talks about so many things when I'm with him, but this is his expertise. Can we bring him on right now? There he is.
Don Brown.
Don Brown, not Dan Brown. Don Brown. Don, what's a former U.S. Navy JAG officer, as a judge, advocate general. Is there a difference really between law like the DeSantis or JAG version and laws as done today, other than the protocol of a court? Is it pretty much the same kind of law?
Yeah, I would go in the JAG court all over again. The criminal statutes are very similar. The military uses the federal rules of evidence, and we get into a lot of constitutional issues with the military courts martial. So it's great training. It's a great career in and of itself. And one of my crossroad moments was whether to stay in the JAG corps or not. I got out, and here we are. But I'm a big military guy. I'm a big Navy guy. I love the JAG Corps, love the Navy. So some of the best professional memories of my life were when I was serving and would go happily serve again if given the opportunity.
All right, so now you're unique in this, and I don't want to do the whole broadcast because this is what I warned my staff. I said, once I start talking to Don, I go down 100 rabbit trails because they're all interesting. But I want to talk to you right now about you love America, you fought for America, you're a patriot, but you know this nation really is screwed up in a lot of ways that could turn someone against the nation. I mean, for instance, when Dave mentioned to me, he said, Lance, this is an important subject we need to talk to Don about because the government makes it hard and complicated so that they take advantage of people's ignorance regarding their own wealth because they get a chunk. Is that true?
Absolutely, Lance. And of course, you and I have talked about this, and there's a deep state out there. There are over 3 million federal employees, over 400 agencies. There's a case in front of the Supreme Court right now, which we hope is going to defang part of that. But you're dealing with IRS, you're dealing with EPA, you're dealing with every three-letter agency that you could think of, and they simply make up laws and rules and regulations out of the blue. They're not accountable to the elected officials. They're unelected. They're protected by civil service protection laws. And one of my favorite quotes from, I'm a big Patton fan. I love the movie. George S. Patton had a quote, something to this effect, that a perfect plan, an imperfect plan, violently and recklessly executed, is better than a perfect plan sitting on the shelf and never touched. And so it's true with legacy planning, and it's true with estate planning. And a lot of times, what happens is, either we don't want to talk about it, or it seems intimidating or daunting or whatever, and we don't plan at all, and we wind up, everything that we work for winds up going to the government at some point, either in the next generation or the generation following that. So I'm a Patton fan, although I'm a Navy guy, the great commander of the Third Army. A perfect plan, an imperfect plan, violently and recklessly executed, is better than a perfect plan. And the lack of planning is what bites people where the sun doesn't shine sometimes.
All right.
I've had, yeah.
All right, so common mistakes. Let's hit them because we got like 15 minutes. I want to extract all the free legal advice I can get out of a good lawyer. So common mistakes, my friend. Tell me, what are the common mistakes?
Well, the first one is procrastination. I've had a number of times in my career, I get called people on their deathbed. They're trying to get out and get something signed, and it's either too late or they're not competent. People lose things to Medicaid and Medicare for not planning and waiting too long. There's a 5-year window. You gotta move property out within 5 years into a trust, or the government can grab it. The biggest problem is procrastination and putting this off. People say, when do you need fire insurance? Well, you need the fire insurance when you don't need it, and it's very, very similar to estate planning. That's the first mistake. The second mistake is not being careful about who we're naming as our executors or our trustees. We have fiduciaries. If we set up a will, we're going to name an executor, somebody who will make sure the property passes as we want it to under the will. Or even better yet, with a trust structure, we name trustees. And that is to ensure the property is protected after our death and it goes where you want it to go. So, being not selecting the right fiduciary, or selecting Uncle Joe because he's a good uncle, or my cousin Sam, when they don't know what they're doing, can be a mistake. Got to be careful about that. And I've had situations where people want to, disinherit this kid or whatever. Whatever we do in an estate plan should be fully explained out and fully documented, because if you're not careful, if you're doing something that someone who thinks they should have your money on the backside wants to object to, ambiguity within an estate planning document is not your friend. You want it to be as specific as possible so that it becomes, pretty much, judgment proof or protected against potential lawsuits in the future.
I want to jump in on that first one, not to cut you off, Don, but I think this is a difficult topic for people to get in front of. Who wants to talk about advanced directives? But it's so important. If you were talking about advanced directives of how you're going to end your life, or you're talking about wills, I get it. If people are busy, they've got other things on their mind. But I know when I've worked with you in the past with numerous individuals, you make the whole process knowledgeable and easy for people. And it doesn't feel like that daunting, big thing that I don't want to think about,
Well, I don't know. I still don't want to think about it. I'm talking about it now. I can't wait to get out of the subject. So, Lance, when you die, who's going to get everything you worked for? It's like, I don't want to die. How about that?
The good news with legacy living, you don't have to die. to really make a difference. I
What
mean,
is what do you?
we-
All
we-
right, see, I'm ignorant.
Yeah.
What does that mean? Legacy giving? What's that?
Legacy giving is a nomenclature or the phrase used for giving a larger part of our estate to a charity. And in my case, I want conservative Christian organizations like Lance Wallnau Ministries and others to be on the receiving end of all that. But Jackie Onassis, for example, who was brilliantly used a number of trust structures to protect her estate, used the charitable lead trust, charitable remainder trust. You can move properties into charitable organizations now, and that charitable organization can become the beneficiary now. Take, for example, the charitable remainder trust. If I had the money, I could move a ton of money into Lance Wallnau Ministries, and the ministry can now use that immediately, and I can get an income back for the rest of my life, and I get a substantial tax deduction. So.
Wait. Now,
Yeah.
slow down here, because
Yeah.
I got a prophecy. I live in that charismatic world too. I got a
I'm aware of that.
prophecy, and Cindy Jacobs said recently, the building, it's coming. And I'm thinking right away, well, I'm looking. But then she said, no, it's faster. It's not 2 years. It's now, and you're not going to have to pay for it. Now, right away, my mind goes, what? So, but in this situation, for all I know, someone could be watching this broadcast right now that goes, well, I got those properties, or my husband had those buildings and I was going to sell them, but they could actually get a tax advantage by donating them to like a nonprofit that's going to use it for the kingdom, and then we pay rent to them. Is that how that works?
That's exactly right. What would happen? Let's say I've got 15 rental houses sitting out there, or 15, beach houses or whatever, and I want to I'm going to support your ministry. What I can do, I can set a charitable remainder trust. I can basically deed those to you, and then I'm going to get back an obligation whereby the ministry is going to pay. I'm going to receive income from the donations I've made. Now, in order to generate that income, we may have to liquidate the beach house or the rental house or whatever, but it doesn't have to be, necessarily, or it can be a 401k or a mutual fund, but it can also be real property or land that is donated to ministries and charities, which can be used to benefit the charity now, and also to generate an income stream coming back. So,
And Lance, think about this.
Property has value,
I didn't know that. That sounds, Did you know that, Mercedes?
I did not know that.
See why we have these conversations? I didn't know that.
And think about this. If they went to the wrong tax planner and somebody said, you need to liquidate your asset, the tax implication is massive.
All right, so talk normal. So that means I'm going to take that $1 million property and sell it?
Sell it. Now you've got a tax problem.
Now I got to give the government like half of that. That's because
exactly
it's an
right.
income tax.
Yeah, because maybe you had a basis in it, bought it for a couple of grand back in the day and it's appreciated. The same thing with stocks. But the other thing that Don was mentioning that's important is in the time of the gift, you receive the tax advantage. So maybe it's your income producing years and you really need that tax write-off now, but you want to do something with it later.
All right, listen, here's what we're going to do. I could tell right now, it's happened to me when I talked to Cousin Billy, happened to me when I talked to Karen Conrad. When I get over my head on the subject, it's time for a webinar. I want you guys to go to lancewallnau.com/legacy. And legacy, we're going to go do a completely deep dive on this subject. In other words, it'll be your consultation with a great attorney and a planner who will help you and me go through this stuff much better than we can do on Facebook right now.
Absolutely.
With a broadcast like this. But if you go there, we'll set up a time. Don was kind enough to tell my staff, I found out, that he'll do it if there's an interest. And of course, there's an interest. I want you to put the word legacy down in the comments if you're in Facebook or in Instagram. And when I say legacy, I mean, I want to know about charitable remainder trust. I want to know about how to protect my assets and all of my inheritance so that my kids get the most of it and the causes I care about get what I've got to give. Kind of giving beyond the grave. What an interesting idea. It's like, I often worry about that. A ministry dies and people stop. What's going to happen when, I'm not broadcasting, but a book goes on.
Yeah.
And if you write a classic like Mere Christianity, I mean, Russell Brand is reading it right now on the air to 1 million people. He's doing chapter by chapter. So I want you to think about how you could make your life a legacy that reaches in well beyond when you're with Jesus. And what are some strategies for tax efficient giving that can be you can give to? I'm going to ask you about what are the strategies you would recommend. Anything we haven't talked about yet that you think is important. And I do believe that this whole field of financial management and real estate and legacy giving and preparation, I think it could be demystified, simplified, and actually energized.
And we're going to do it for free, Lance. We're going to provide that for free. So all we need to do, there's limited space because we want to have Q&A. We want to have a group of people that we can really get down to answering some questions. So we're going to do it for free. People just need to sign up. You can just type the word legacy in and we'll get back to you, or you can use the 800 number or the website. And Lance, the material that's going to come out, whether people are working with other estate planners, it's going to really help them to make the best decisions possible.
Mercedes, any thoughts?
No, I think that it's great. I mean, it's like you said, it's kind of an uncomfortable thing to talk about. I remember when Larry and I first got married and we were talking about things like term insurance. And he's like, I don't even want to talk about it, which is like, if something happens to you, he's like, that's not living in faith. But the reality is, I mean, as your age demo's aging, as I'm aging, I just turned a certain age. I'm 35 again. Actually, I'm a lot older than that. But anyways, you have to start thinking about these things. And it's really stewarding the future for your children. And, you might be thinking or you're listening like, well, I don't have a lot. But you'd be really surprised when you get on the phone with somebody like Don that knows what they're talking about. They really understand how to make what you have grow and not only provide for you, but also for your family.
Don, is there one big takeaway that people are going to get from this webinar?
Yes, and I think that making a difference in the world for the kingdom means we think about the parable of the talents. That we give, we sow into the right things, and sowing into evangelical prophetic ministries that are conservative will reap great benefits. But there are tools in order to do that allow us to do that now before we go meet Jesus. We can do it now, benefit now tax-wise, and even get a little income on the backside. And so you don't have to wait till you're gone till you go see Jesus. You can do it right now. And I think that's the takeaway. And as we get into some of these webinars, we will go into a little bit more detail. But the takeaway is don't wait. If you feel led to do so, give now, and we can help you direct you in the right direction on how to make that happen, to maximize the benefit to that giving.
Great.
All right, listen, I got to do a real quick rapid round of questions. This means that this is kind of like the rapid round. We got to go like, boom, we got to hit a couple of subjects real fast. And you can't do it in depth. I know, Don, but we got to hit them anyway. At what age or stage in life, somebody asked me, should I even start thinking about this? I'm young. What difference does it make to me, or we're newly married? They got a point. What do you say?
Early 20s.
What?
Wow.
Early 20s.
Why?
Early 20s. Because you begin building, the wise accumulation of wealth starts early with putting away and beginning to enjoy and realize the magic of compound interest and understanding, start thinking about what we want to be and what we want to represent. I say that because getting started earlier gives folks a better opportunity to actually build wealth. So the wealth accumulation stage should begin early on.
All right, okay, rapid round question number 2. I get a little confused about a will. A will, I think, is about death. Trust, I don't get it. So what's the difference, real quick, between a will and a trust?
Well, a trust can be a living trust. It can be set up and used during our lifetime to protect us now. Extremely wealthy people, not just extremely wealthy people, people of means use trust to protect us now. The will is an instrument under which our property will be transferred at probate. It goes into effect at probate. Trust can go into effect at death, but it can go into effect now. Trust has a lot more flexibility and is a lot more powerful.
Can you give me, other than, real quick, you already gave me one strategy on this really cool idea about your property can be like donated, you get the value of it, you get the tax benefit, and then you still get an income. Very cool idea. But give me another innovative, minimize the tax burden aspect of how you could help people minimize the impact of taxes.
Sure. Setting up a trust and leaving items to charity from the trust is 100% tax deductible. Also, I heard Mercedes talk about life insurance. You can make Lance Wallnau Ministries the benefit of your life insurance policy beneficiary. Setting up family foundations are ways. There are a number of ways of doing this, and there's a panoply of options that we have. But those are some of the ways that would, within my flash around time limit, I would go with those first.
I appreciate that. Okay, so now, if we were to put this together, folks, I'm talking about you're going to have a professional, legal, and fiscal overview from an expert who's probably, on. What do you, in terms of trust, are you a trustee on a bunch of trusts right now? Like I think Dave told me like about 100 or something like that.
Yeah, about 100. It kind of goes and comes depending on people passing away and that sort of thing. But about 100, yeah.
Dang. So you're a trusted resource. Charitable remainder trust, tax efficient giving, probate. Real quick, what's probate?
Probate is the process by which your property is transferred at your death to wherever you want it to go. It is a treacherous process because you can lose your property during the probate process. But it is the process under which property is transferred at death to our loved ones if there's enough property to transfer and the government doesn't get it. Probate starts at death, after death, when we go to the county courthouse and open up a file or an estate file under which we try to transfer property of the person who's deceased to loved ones. But creditors got to get paid first. But that's what probate is, a process under which property is transferred at death.
Did you hear his comment, though, if the government doesn't get it? Because that's one of those fail to plan to fail kind of activities where, in a certain sense, and Don, you can speak to this, you can demystify that process with a goodwill.
Well, you can actually do it with a trust. I remember somebody asked about the difference between a trust and a will. With a living trust, you can move property in it now. And at your death, that property does not go through probate at all. You can skip the process altogether. So there's more than one way to skin that cat.
So I got to ask a question, though, because the crew's messaging me in the back. So if you're in your 20s, let's say you're Matt and Joy, you're Lance, Jamie, Lynn, you're me and Larry. I'm putting myself in my 20s now. But on the webinar, it's going to cover topics like this for people who are starting all the way up to people who have assets like a Lance or a Dave and saying, hey, I want to properly steward these things and make sure that I'm protecting it from the government. I'm maximizing it for the kingdom. This webinar is going to cover all of that. Is that right, you guys?
It will.
Okay.
It will. And when I said 20s, Lance gave me a quick reaction question. But the wealth accumulation process is better to start early and to be wise early, and to continue to save and to plant.
Well, yeah, and I'll add another piece in the increasingly litigious and lawfare environment we're in. You have to think as a Christian and as a conservative how to protect whatever God gives you. And this trust strategy, I know some folks that are using it simply to protect their assets, their wealth, and their business by firewalling things off from litigation and lawsuits, which could be issued against them purely out of malice and not out of real events. So we're living in an age where you're going to have to be lawyered up. You're going to have wise counsel. You have to protect your wealth. But the wise man sees trouble and prepares himself. Yeah. I think the benefit of doing this in your 30s or your 20s is it makes you start thinking like a millionaire. It makes you start thinking like someone with wealth. You don't make stupid mistakes when you're young if you already understand the philosophy of wealth curation, creation, and protection. You have an instinct then about guarding your butt from bad business deals. And I'll tell you what, there's a street smartness about wealthy people that I've always respected. They don't buy like I do with impulse and a good sales presentation. They kick the tires and they think about stuff.
And think about the faith aspect of it, where you're actually planning in your 20s for the future. Man, if somebody had go back in my life and shake me and say, Dave, you need to make a better plan here.
Oh, now there's a point for Larry and for the Word of Faith, friends, is that How are you exercising faith if you're not expecting to manage the complexities of wealth in the future? You're not demonstrating faith now by not preparing for it. So, Don, we'll set the time, but the people, listen, I'm going to tell you what, as soon as I get 100, I think I might cut it off, because the Q&A, Dave said is true. And then maybe we'll replay it. You won't get a live Q&A, but you get to watch it later. But if you want to get in on the raw, real live group, LanceWallnau.com/legacy. You want to put legacy, Legacy, legacy in Facebook or Instagram. Put it in the comments section. We're going to send you an immediate link. Our goal is to have this webinar done live while... I don't have to be on it, do I?
No, we'd like you
I'm just going to take up space and confuse the subject. I think I'm going to be in the audience. So when do you want to do this? 2 weeks?
We use you for eye candy. You pull
Yeah,
the
of
whole
course. for my demographic. Now, who am I? 2 weeks from now, what are you thinking?
Yeah, this month, this coming month, we'll have it ready to go. We're going to do it live, so the people that are
He's
signing
committing
up
to this coming month. That gives him a lot of latitude. I'd like to see this done within the next 2 weeks.
Let's do it within the next 2 weeks.
All right, folks. Don, I can't thank you enough for giving us your time and expertise. And you're a best-selling author, a Fox News commentator. You're an experienced litigator and politician. I didn't talk about all that because I just wanted to talk about the one thing I know you do that impacts my people, and that is help protect their wealth from a hostile and dangerous government. Any final thoughts?
No, Lance, I'm blessed to be with you. And starting in our 20s is good, but it's never too late to start. Now is the time to begin giving a thought to legacy planning, not tomorrow, not yesterday, but now. And so be praying about that, and we'll be back. And I look forward to working with people, answering questions, and you're doing a great work for the Lord, brother.
Thank you. Well, we love you, man. And thank you for being our counsel and helping us navigate some difficult waters in the hostile world that we're in. And by the way, we'll let people know how to get in touch with you. How do they get in touch with you? Are you posting stuff? I know you've got your books and everything. How can people get to know you?
Yeah, sure. You can find me on Facebook, Twitter at Don Brown Books. My website is donbrownbooks.com, and you can email me, donbrownbooks@gmail.com. So always happy to field questions from viewers, and any friend of yours is a friend of mine, Lance. So
this guy's a great historian, whistleblower, and influencer on contemporary military history and events, but I didn't want to go down that rabbit trail for fear I'd never get to the subject. Love you, brother. I look forward to seeing you again and seeing you here in Texas, live in the studio. Let's do that sometime.
Texas, baby. Looking forward to it.
All right. Bye-bye. God bless you.
Bye, guys. You too.
Great, man. What are you thinking? I'm thinking this is going to be really good for our people.
It's going to be really good. And I think that, people need three things. They need a plan, but they need a guide. And the guide has to be trusted. And, bottom line, I like Don. I trust Don. I've worked with him with my family. So I couldn't more assuredly recommend somebody to our partners that are standing with us.
Yeah, I don't know why my dad would ask me when I got married, you got a will? I was like, Dad, you're so depressing. And my dad was an attorney, though. It's like, man. But actually, the way that this is being approached, it's faith. It's reaching, it's believing God for the ideal future and knowing that you could retire and put your money to work for ministry while you're making an income. I never thought I always thought you got to die and give it away. I didn't know you could do something while you're alive, retire, and have the benefit of seeing your wealth go into the kingdom.
Well, I think we say it like a bad thing. What if they open up my will and like, Oh, Happy Day starts playing? Because at that point, I'm going to be with the Lord. I'm excited, but I'm doing the best I can to make sure that the things that I've worked hard for and really saved go in the right direction.
I got to say too, and this is, I don't know if it's a happy note or a place to end, but I used to work in a bank. And so there's nothing worse than when a loved one dies and they didn't plan it all, and that family can't get access to the funds. The trust didn't have any beneficiary on it. I know it sounds crazy, but we would have at least 2 to 3 of those a month, and it would take them months to get access to the funds. And so you have to plan. You have to steward what the Lord's given you. And I know sometimes, for you or Larry, it's like, it's kind of unpleasant to think about, but like you're saying, I'm really thinking about my children. I'm thinking, what can I do to bless them? So anyways, you got to do it.
The Lord wants you to have wisdom, and he wants you to have peace of mind. My thinking now is a great plan gives you peace of mind. You don't have rolling around in the back of your head, I need to do this. I need to do that. The last time you want to be thinking about that is when you're under the stress of a medical battle. You want to do it when you're in the lucidity of faith and the light of day. And God says, your children's children are going to be blessed.